This program contains adult content.
Is there a God?
Big atheist.
Really?
What am I, an idiot? Come on.
That yes, it would be nice if you could throw your sins and your responsibilities on someone else. But it's not true.
It looks like far-left lunacy.
I don't believe that it's true that religion is moral or ethical.
You don't need to follow anybody!
It's not human intelligence!
If someone doesn't value logical consistency, what logical argument are you going to give them that will demonstrate that they should?
Welcome to the Godless Revolution. Today is Friday, November 16th. This is episode 228. I'm Dan. I have a full-fledged full beard now.
Yes, you do.
And it's even kind of brooming out to the side on this side.
Mm-hmm. Your mustache is all the way back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've been trimming it because I can't, like, that's the only thing I've really trimmed so far is the mustache, because I can't have hair in my mouth all the fucking time.
That's how you have it. You'd have it before, too.
Mm-hmm.
You would cut it short like that.
Yeah.
Not short, but...
Yeah, well, just above my lip,
mm-hmm.
so that I don't constantly have hair in my mouth. No Ryan this evening. He's apparently tired from filming all day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Poor guy, lugging around cameras and stuff. It's a rough life. But I'm here in the studio with Matt. Matt is sitting in Ryan's seat, so I guess maybe that means you're going to misspeak a few times.
I did last time I was over here.
Say something weird. We've got a bunch of fun things. Well, not fun things. We got a bunch of interesting things coming up on the show tonight. What have you been doing over the last week?
I had a thought prepared and I forgot it.
Oh, yeah?
But the gist is this.
Okay.
I was thinking that with Trump's push against dissenting opinions in news media and whatever, and his big fake news campaign and everything, I mean, people on the right were pretty much exclusively getting their news from Fox to begin with without looking anywhere else. But it's kind of gotten to the point now where if something is definitely false that Fox is reporting, that just becomes known that that's false, those people are more likely to believe a worldwide conspiracy rather than Fox was wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Which is one of the big dangerous things I think is about what Trump is doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's just fucking, he's poisoning everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's like religion that way.
Yeah.
Everything, he just fucking poisons everything. I saw an article, well, I read an article earlier today talking about, it's going to take decades to clean up all of the fucking toxic sludge that he's been slinging just out of his mouth from all of the cabinet appointments that he's done, all of the appointments to federal agencies that he's made, all of the regulations that he's rolled back, and then just, his negative contributions to the general discourse. It's a fucking toxic environment.
Decades is being generous because it would take decades if all we had was a string of Democratic presidents for the next, few times in a row. It would still take decades then.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we're going to continue this pattern of switching roughly every other,
4 to 8 years,
the Republican presidents aren't going to do anything about it. So whatever they're not going to add more regulations. So, all that kind of stuff is just going to be sitting, waiting for the next Democrat to come which means that the Democrats are going to have a lot harder time making any real progress or headway because they're going to be starting from way back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be the rest of our lives for sure.
Yeah. Thanks, non-voters and people who voted third party and people who voted for Trump. Like you've done a great job.
Yep.
Making the swamp that he was going to drain a fucking hazardous waste site. I think that was part of the article. They said that basically he's turned America, the entire country, into a Superfund site because it's going to take so long to clean up, and it's so fucking toxic. Everything that he's done, and everything that he touches is turned to shit. Basically, he has the opposite of the Midas touch. I don't know what that would be.
I guess it's the Trump touch.
Yeah, basically.
Where you dress everything in gold, but It smells like shit.
Shiny shit everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished the lighting project that I've been talking about for a few weeks.
You're the lighting project?
Yes. I finished what I was doing, but it didn't turn out as planned. Like I had bought all these supplies, bought all these parts to rebuild these fucking lights, and I was really excited about it. Tracy's daughter Danica was over here. I was showing them, exactly what I've got to do with these old ceramic lights and how to rebuild them and everything. And I'm trying to adjust the lamp fitter insert for all the wiring and everything that actually runs in the light fixture itself. And so I'm showing them all of that, and I'm trying to thread the wires through, and I'm standing in the kitchen doing this over the counter there. And I dropped it. Seriously, dude, it was like maybe 6 inches, maybe a 6-inch drop as I'm doing this, and I fumbled it, and it hit the counter and fucking broke one of the light fixtures. And I was like, motherfucker. After like almost a year of trying to figure out what we were going to do, and then deciding to rebuild them, and then ordering, all the different lampshades, all the different fucking fitters to put in there as replacements for the one shade that was broken that we couldn't find a replacement for. And
that sucks, man.
Yeah, it was fucking, I was so fucking mad. And, I told Tracy, I'm like, okay, well, I guess that solves that problem. I'm not going to fix these fucking piece of shit lights now. They're fucking going in the garbage. I'm fucking done. If you want to get them fixed, then you're going to have to, I was just fucking mad. And she's like, okay. And so then, yeah, I just said, if you want these in the bathroom, then you're going to have to do it or have somebody else do it. 'Cause I'm just fucking done at this point. We can't get another replacement for these things aren't made anywhere else. Yeah. They don't exist anywhere that you can purchase them. And the thing, and where I broke it was right along where the screws go in to mount it to the wall. Mm-hmm. So even if we were to try to super glue it and put back every tiny little fucking speck of dust that we could find to make it, look as good as possible, it's going to break as soon as I try to cinch it tight to the wall. And then knowing that we're going to be remodeling that bathroom sometime in the future and taking the paper off and everything, I'm going to have to take them down and try to remount them. I'm like, it's not going to last. It's not a tenable situation. So we went to several different hardware stores looking for different lights, found the ones we wanted, and we need 4 and they had 3. So then the next day I had to go to another hardware store, walked in there. They were totally unhelpful. They were supposed to have the light I needed. They didn't. And then I traveled clear out to fucking West Valley. I went to the Lowe's on it's 5600 West and 49th South or something like clear the fuck out there and grabbed another light, brought it home. But I had all 4 lights installed, done, bathroom cleaned up and everything in under 2 hours after spending a year dealing with these other fucking lights. And the ones we got are really nice. I dig them. They're LED, the whole fixture is LED. There's no bulb to replace or anything. So, and they're supposed to last, 27 years or something. Hopefully they will, so I don't have to try to worry about replacing them again in the near future. But I'm fucking glad it's done and they look nice. And yeah, I lost my temper when it broke, 'cause it was just seriously a year of dealing with this shit and came crashing down in a 6-inch drop onto the fucking counter. Yeah. I was so mad.
I can understand.
Also, I've been listening to the Rachel Maddow's new podcast called Bagman about the Trump administration, basically the Trump administration. Yeah. It's about the Nixon administration and Watergate. And it's a really cool show. I had no idea how fucking corrupt even the vice president was. And it had nothing to do with Watergate. He had his own scandals going from way back before he was ever even vice president and just continued doing that. And Spiro Agnew was a fucking shitbag as well. The whole thing was rotten top to bottom, just like the Trump administration. And that's the other thing that is kind of striking to me, at least in listening to this, is how closely all of this is being mirrored by the Trump administration, just installing one corrupt official after another and working to protect each other. And it's just it's an entirely rotten and corrupt system. And it all starts at the top and then filters down. And
it's funny too, because like Republicans want to point at like Bill Clinton and the Monica Lewinsky situation and all that, and Whitewater and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, the Nixon administration, Republican, Reagan, the largest deficit increase and the trickle down economic disaster, war on drugs,
Iran-Contra,
Republican, right? George Bush Sr., Republican, Gulf War. George Bush Jr., we know what a disaster he was, Republican.
Well, and
right?
George Bush Sr. was involved in
that's why I said
Watergate
the Gulf War.
Oh,
and Watergate. Yeah, okay. And trickle down.
Yeah.
Oh, no, the Reagan administration. So, like, every single presidency they've had since Nixon, at least, probably definitely before, but have been corrupt and fucking awful people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Bill Clinton stuck that cigar up Monica Lewinsky. There's that one thing they can point to.
Bill Clinton put a cigar in Monica Lewinsky's pussy,
and they impeached him for it,
and got some semen on a dress. Yeah, well, they impeached him for other things as well, but that was the thing that they were like, oh well, now he's got to go. You can't just go, strutting around sticking cigars in women's pussies. That's not a thing you can do.
Right. You can only grab them by there.
Right. Yeah. Only grab them by there, assault them, demean them. All of that is fine. But yeah, it's been really wild listening to that show and just like, oh man, that's what Trump is doing. Oh yeah, Trump is doing that. That's what's going on in our current administration now. And we've had some news there this week.
I wonder what podcasters were talking about during this Nixon administration. I wonder if they sounded like what we sound like talking about Trump now.
Yeah, all those podcasters that existed back then. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only podcaster then was Nixon himself and those fucking stupid tapes that ultimately ended up taking him down.
Well, him and Jim Jones.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's just I can't get over the similarities between it, and it's a little bit surprising, but more disappointing that things are as bad as they are now. And it seems like there's not really any end in sight. But just today, well, actually, it was last night, I saw and posted a headline for a story from the New York Times that Julian Assange of WikiLeaks fame has had a criminal indictment handed down against him. And apparently, so after I found that out last night, read the story, posted it, found out today that it was a big oopsie that was even published, that it was supposed to be a sealed indictment, but there were apparently some copy and paste errors in the final paperwork. Part of which was saying that the only way to ensure that Julian Assange doesn't find out about this and make it that much more difficult to carry out this prosecution is that we have to have this as a sealed indictment, and that was part of the stuff that wasn't under seal. So that got out, and now we all know that Julian Assange is wrapped up in this, and they're looking at Roger Stone as well, which is also awesome because that guy is just a fucking douchebag. So lots and lots of news recently. Everyone is expecting Mueller to drop the hammer since Trump installed Mike what's-his-dipshit as the new...
Whitaker?
Mike Whitaker as the new acting attorney general. Replaced the Keebler elf. And apparently Whitaker has already been reporting things back to Donald Trump. Speculation is that that's why he has seemed increasingly unhinged as of late, because he's finding out just how close the Mueller investigation is to both him and other people that he at least pretends to hold dear, other family members. Speculation is that Jared Kushner will be under indictment, and Donald Trump Jr. and possibly Eric for some of their actions. So it's about to get even more bumpy, and it's going to be pretty nasty, I think. I think Mueller is waiting until he knows that he has undeniable mountains of evidence so that even the most diehard Trump supporter will have to come around and say, no, yeah, he's got to go. He's a fucking crook. He's slimy.
But this assumes that Trump supporters are rational.
Yes. And that they would believe anything that doesn't confirm the narrative that they want to hear.
This is what I was just saying.
Yeah.
This is what Trump has been pushing since the very beginning. And that is that nothing but Fox News and Trump can be trusted. So that's what I'm saying. The entire world is wrapped up in a conspiracy against him.
Mm-hmm.
They'd rather believe, they're more willing to believe that than the fact that Trump did this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's going to happen. And the fact that Fox News is not reporting well enough on all of this stuff is going to be a huge sucker punch for all these people. When it happens, it's going to appear out of nowhere, and they're going to be talking about how, the Democrats always get what they want, and we need to stand up for this. And, we're not going to take this sitting, all that bullshit.
It's all fake news. They're just trying to take down the president because they don't like him because he's making America great again.
Yeah, we almost had a civil war if Trump didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
So now that he's going to, ruin the presidency and parts of the country and then leave, we're going to be looking at maybe another one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to get nasty. And yeah, speaking of Fox News and reporters and stuff, we have a story that we'll get to when we come back.
Hey, everybody, it's X from the Utah Outcasts podcast and YouTube channel. And you're listening to The Godless Revolution.
What is it about society that disappoints you so much?
Oh, I don't know. Is it that we collectively thought Steve Jobs was a great man, even when we knew he made billions off the backs of children? Or maybe it's that it feels like all our heroes are counterfeit. The world itself's just one big hoax. Spamming each other with our running commentary bullshit masquerading as insight. Our social media faking as intimacy. Or is it that we voted for this? Not with our rigged elections, but with our things, our property, our money. I'm not saying anything new. We all know why we do this. Not because Hunger Games books makes us happy, but because we want to be sedated. Because it's painful not to pretend. Because we're cowards. Fuck society.
Elliot, you're not saying anything. What's wrong?
Nothing.
Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
Well, Jim Acosta now has his hard pass back again. I think it's funny that they call it a hard pass because I'm like, hard pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass on that.
I didn't think I heard it right the first time, but yeah.
You want to talk to the president? No, need a hard pass on that.
Need a hard pass. Need a hard pass for that.
But apparently his White House credentials have been restored after they were not mysteriously. It's a mystery as to who revoked his hard pass.
Maybe under Obama, it was an easy pass. But now, because it's Trump and CNN, it's a hard pass.
Mm-hmm. That could be.
That's a real difficult pass.
But for those of you who may not know, Jim Acosta is a reporter for CNN and is stationed, I guess, or assigned to cover the Trump administration at the White House. So he sits in on the press briefings and everything like that. And there was a particularly contentious interaction between Jim Acosta and President Trump while Trump was at the podium himself, and Jim Acosta started asking him a series of difficult questions, and Trump just got really petulant about it, told him that he was a bad person, that CNN should be ashamed that he works for them, that Jim Acosta should, worry about other things, let Donald Trump worry about running the country, and Jim Acosta can worry about running CNN, and then maybe their ratings would get better. Who knows? It was like Jim Acosta was talking to a 12-year-old who had just done something wrong, and the 12-year-old is going through that really shitty teenage phase where they fucking hate everybody and are just really lippy about everything.
Is that a teenage phase?
And So, and then there was this point during all of this where Trump said, no, you're done. You can't ask any more questions. Put the microphone down. And a young White House staffer came over and tried to take the microphone away from Jim Acosta. Mm-hmm. And this was a whole other separate controversy apart from Jim Acosta's press pass being revoked, was that
she accosted him.
Yeah, she accosted him, but somebody over at I think it was InfoWars. Yeah, somebody from Alex Jones's InfoWars sped up certain parts of the video of Jim Acosta speaking into the microphone and the White House staffer trying to take it away from him. They sped up the part where the staffer tries to pull the microphone away from him, and Jim Acosta says, "Pardon me, ma'am," and maintains control of the microphone, but it looks like he gives her a karate chop because they sped up this certain portion of the footage.
Oh, jeez.
And of course, there's no audio in it. They just made a GIF of it that they sent out on Twitter and posted to their site, that then Sarah Huckabee Sanders also tweeted out and said, you can't assault members of the Trump administration and our White House staffers and be expected that you're going to keep your press pass and be able to ask questions of the president. Of course, that's not what fucking happened. And the White House's story on why his pass has been revoked has changed. It's, I don't know, shall we say, evolved over time. And now, so CNN filed a lawsuit to get the hard pass back for Jim Acosta, and it was actually backed by a bunch of other news outlets, including Fox News, somewhat surprisingly. Fox News filed an amicus brief in support of CNN's lawsuit to restore it, and just today a judge handed down a decision that Jim Acosta should get his press pass back, so he will be heading back to the White House. That'll be a fun thing to see in the next few days if they hold any press briefings and if they will actually call on him for any questions or if they will just try to ignore him shouting questions at them from the gallery. But this story comes to us from the Washington Post. It says that a federal judge on Friday ruled in favor of CNN and reporter Jim Acosta in a dispute with President Trump, ordering the White House to temporarily restore the press credentials that the administration had taken away from Acosta last week. In a victory for the cable network and for press access generally, U.S. District Judge Timothy J. Kelly, who was appointed by none other than Donald J. Trump, granted CNN's motion for a temporary restraining order that will prevent the administration from keeping Acosta off the White House grounds. The White House revoked the reporter's press pass last week after a heated exchange between him and Trump and a brief altercation with a press aide at a news conference. Acosta, CNN's chief White House correspondent, is the first reporter with a hard pass granting White House access to be banned. This has never before happened. It's the first time any administration has banned a reporter. CNN sued Trump and other White House officials Tuesday over the revocation. Kelly's ruling was the result of the first legal skirmish in that lawsuit. It has the immediate effect of sending Acosta back to the White House pending further arguments and a possible trial. The litigation is in its early stages, and a trial could be months away. Hours after the judge's decision, Acosta resumed his post at the White House. Kelly, whom Trump appointed to the federal bench last year, handed down his ruling 2 days after the network and government lawyers argued over whether the president had the power to revoke a reporter's access. In explaining his decision, Kelly said he agreed with the government's argument that there was no First Amendment right to come onto the White House grounds, but, he said, once the White House opened up the grounds to reporters, the First Amendment applied. Basically, then, all reporters should be welcome or able. Or nearly all. Kelly's ruling, however, primarily emphasized evidence indicating Kelly's ruling, however, primarily emphasized evidence indicating that the White House's decision to boot Acosta had violated the Fifth Amendment, which guarantees due process in government actions. He said the White House's decision-making was, quote, so shrouded in mystery that the government could not tell me who made the decision. The White House's later written arguments for banning Acosta were belated and were not sufficient to satisfy due process, Kelly said. Quote, we are gratified with the result and look forward to a full resolution in the coming days, CNN said in a statement. Our sincere thanks to all who have supported not just CNN, but a free, strong, and independent American press. Acosta added, "I just want to thank all my colleagues in the press who supported me this week. I want to thank the judge for his ruling, and let's go back to work." In comments made in the Oval Office afterward, Trump said the White House would write rules to satisfy the court's due process concerns. He also suggested his administration would keep up the legal fight with CNN. "We'll end up back in court and we will win," he said. "We want total freedom of the press," Trump said, "but you have to act with respect when you're at the White House. And when I see the way some people of my people get treated at news conferences, it's terrible. So we're setting up a certain standard, which is what the court is requesting." He added, "We always have the option of leaving, and the other media and press in the room won't be happy." White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said in a statement after the ruling that, quote, the court made clear that there is no absolute First Amendment right to access to the White House. Although the judge actually said reporters have such rights once admitted. Sanders announced Acosta's indefinite suspension last week after the confrontation at the news conference. Trump and Sanders have had several run-ins with Acosta, stretching back to the time before Trump became president. Acosta watched Friday's proceedings from the courtroom in Washington, joined by a team of attorneys who included Theodore B. Olson, a former Solicitor General in George W. Bush's administration, and Theodore Boutros, a star litigator and media law specialist. CNN had argued that the ban on Acosta violated his First Amendment rights because it amounted to viewpoint discrimination. That is, the president was pushing the reporter for statements and coverage he did not like, or punishing the reporter. The network has also said the action violated Acosta's Fifth Amendment rights because his exclusion followed no written guidelines or rules and had no appeal or review procedures. CNN had requested emergency relief from the judge, arguing that Acosta's rights were being violated with each passing hour. Until the White House's action last week, no reporter credentialed to cover the president had ever had a press pass revoked. A government attorney, James Burnham, argued in a hearing before Kelly on Wednesday that the president was within his rights to ban any reporter from the White House at any time, just as he excludes reporters from interviews in the Oval Office. He said Acosta could report on the president just as effectively by watching the president on TV or by calling people within the White House. Burnham also said CNN would not be injured by Acosta's exclusion since CNN has dozens of other journalists credentialed for the White House. Burnham said Trump's rationale for Acosta's ban was his rudeness at last week's news conference, in effect arguing that Acosta's conduct, not his right to free speech, was the relevant issue. And the story continues and says, the assertions drew a rebuttal from Boutros, CNN's attorney, who described the ban on the reporter as arbitrary, capricious, and unprecedented. He said that White House reporters need access to the premises, meet with officials, and to report on untelevised gaggles, impromptu discussions with press aides and other officials, and that banning reporters from the grounds harms their ability to do their jobs. Media organizations have been alarmed by the White House's treatment of Acosta, saying that revoking his hard pass to enter the White House is a threat to other journalists who might be similarly banned. Trump has suggested other reporters could face a similar fate if they displease him in some unspecified way. 13 news organizations, including the Washington Post and Fox News, jointly filed a friend of the court brief supporting CNN's position. That's the amicus brief that I mentioned earlier. The White House's Correspondents Association, which represents journalists in their negotiations over access to the president, filed a brief Thursday that urged the court, quote, to roundly reject the president's dangerous legal position. It disputed the government's claim that the president has absolute unbridled discretion to decide who can report from inside the White House. During the presidential campaign in 2015 and 2016, Trump banned more than a dozen news organizations from his rallies and public events, including the Post. He said he would not do something similar as president. Last week, he went back on that statement. Surprise, surprise. Donald Trump fucking lied about something. Trump's 2020 re-election campaign has used the CNN lawsuit to drum up contributions, portraying the suit as evidence of liberal bias, an assertion Boutros brought up Wednesday in asserting that Trump had political reasons for banning Acosta. Quote, CNN is suing President Trump, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, a Secret Service agent, and other White House officials, the fundraiser email says, all because they revoked Jim Acosta's press badge after his continuous grandstanding and inappropriate refusal to yield to other reporters. President Trump will not put up with the media's liberal bias and utter disrespect for this administration and the hardworking Americans who stand with us. All the hardworking Americans that he's fucking over with his trade war, with his tariffs. Yeah, all of those people that voted for him that he's fucking over time and time again. And for some reason, so many of them are still staunch supporters of him.
Well, because he said he'd bring coal back.
Oh, right. I don't know how that'll help soybean farmers, but
yeah,
I'm very happy that he got his press pass back. I think there could be an argument made that Acosta was impertinent, that he perhaps was not exercising all of the decorum that one would necessarily expect from a reporter. But
good thing Obama didn't have to ever deal with that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But, you know, it's way past the time when the people that we use as the vanguard against a lot of the illegal things that the Trump administration is doing stood up to the president and actually pressed him hard with a lot of difficult questions that he's not going to be fucking happy about. And that was the whole thing Acosta was doing, was asking Trump questions about the Mueller investigation and if he's concerned about indictments that you know, may be coming any day now. And that's when Trump lost it, and he's like, no, you're done. You're done. No more questions from you. Sit down. Be quiet. And I think it's pretty clear that the new acting AG is feeding information to the Trump administration, Trump himself, I'm sure, which is another thing that he fucking lied about. Trump lied and said that he had no idea not that he had no idea who, I've never met him. I don't know. I didn't know who he was. But I hear great things. He's very highly regarded. He's got a great reputation. And that's complete and utter bullshit. He'd had more than a dozen meetings in the Oval Office. So, but I guess we shouldn't be too surprised about President Trump lying about things.
Especially about meetings with people.
Oh, yeah. Particularly about meetings with people. Which brings me to another story that we have here. Also from the Washington Post, says that it's easy to fact check Trump's lies. He tells the same ones all the time. I'm not going to read the whole story. I'll post a link to it in the show notes. And within the article, it also had links to a couple fantastic places that are tracking all of Donald Trump's lies. One of them is the Washington Post itself, and the other is the Toronto Star. The Washington Post says that in 649 days, President Trump has made 6,420 false or misleading claims, and it has a graph just below that shows basically an exponential increase in the number of lies that he's repeating, and he repeats the same ones over and over and over. It's pretty cool. They've set up a database. You can check it by date. You can search by topic, whether it's, you know, guns, foreign policy, taxes, elections, the environment, or from the source, whether he's tweeted something out, he said it in an interview, or said it during a rally. Yeah, it's a great source for that. The other one, like I said, is from the Toronto Star. It has a different number on the number of falsehoods that the president has told. It now says 3,749, and that was last updated yesterday. So.
Well, this one doesn't include misleading.
Oh, so this is just the purely false. Okay.
I'm guessing.
Oh, yeah.
Because
the other one said false or misleading, right? Yeah, false or misleading on the Washington Post. This one just says false things.
Mm-hmm.
So
about half, a little more than half.
Yeah. So what is that? That's, let's see, 3,749 over. Let's pull up the calculator here. Dun dun dun. Filling time while I'm mumbling and typing. What was the number 3? Let's see.
Yeah, I don't remember offhand.
3,749 divided by 649 is an average of almost 6 lies per day. Almost 6 lies per day that are easily tracked and set in databases where people can go and find all of the different lies that he's telling all the time. If they are so inclined, but if you're a Trump supporter, you're probably not so inclined, and you'll just let him continue being the shitbag that he is.
Well, no, these are both liberal media.
Oh, so they're biased. Yeah.
And that's why they can't get their story straight.
Fake news. Yeah, they're reporting different numbers.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that they're both in the thousands. It's fake news. You shouldn't believe it. It's fake news. Sit down, be quiet. It's really frustrating. It's got to be super fucking frustrating as a reporter to try to do any kind of real reporting on this presidency, because there's so many balls in the air, right? Like you're spinning so many different plates, tracking all of the different bullshit that's going on, all of the appointments, all of the corruption from, like I mentioned earlier, appointing different people to be the heads of agencies, appointing people who sue the EPA and use that as a bragging right when they're running for various offices, and then installing Scott Pruitt as the head of the EPA, who then was fucking incredibly corrupt and was basically forced out of office because he was so corrupt that even Trump had to acknowledge, okay, well, I think you're doing a good job, but a lot of people are complaining. A lot of people say you're corrupt. It's what people are saying, and so now you got to go. The day that he's removed from office can't come soon enough. It's already almost 2 years past the time that it should have happened.
I hope it's like Gaddafi style removal.
Oh yeah, where people find him and you stab him in the asshole.
Yeah, shiv him in the butt a bunch.
That's did happen to Gaddafi. That was particularly brutal. I would be happy just seeing him in an orange jumpsuit, something that would go with his hair and complexion.
I think you mean Trump camo.
Yeah, Trump camo behind bars, I think would be fucking awesome.
He'll never go to prison.
That would make my day. You know what I worry about is that now with this new meathead that's the acting AG, that he's reporting everything back to Trump, and Trump is just preparing all of the paperwork to offer pardons to everybody who may be facing indictment. He'll pardon all of them, and maybe he'll be impeached. But then once he's impeached, Pence will step in, pardon him. It's just, that's what happened with fucking Nixon. Nixon was just about to be impeached, would have been removed from office, I'm sure, but he resigned, and then the guy who steps in behind him pardons him. So there's really no consequences other than that he was out of a job. For all of the harms that he had done, all of the corrupt, rampant shit that was going on, really no consequences. Sure, there were other people who went to jail, other people below him, other people that he installed, other people that were put in as props to help him maintain power and continue this cycle of corruption. A lot of them went to jail, but for the guy leading it all, no, he just lost a job.
Yep.
Lost a job and was a national disgrace.
It's our system.
And Donald Trump is already a national disgrace, so the only thing that's left is for him to lose a job. But it's not even like it's a job that he fucking does all the time, right? He's taken so many vacation days, he golfs all the fucking time.
Well, and he never got rid of his other business interests. He'll just jump right back into that.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll continue doing that.
And doing that illegally, too.
And profiting off of that from all of the shady shit that's been going on while he's been the commander-in-chief.
Yeah, all the laws and everything that he's put in place to help out billionaires.
Yeah, all of the things that basically go against the emoluments clause that he's just, no, I don't need to follow that. I'm the president now. I just haven't seen a more corrupt administration in the United States of America, at least in my lifetime, for sure.
And we saw George W. Bush.
Yeah, we saw George W. Bush. I was alive when Nixon was removed from office, but I was a teeny tiny little wee one. I didn't have any idea what was going on. I'm sure I was saying words and maybe sentences, but I think I was only 2 maybe when he was removed from office. Or, yeah. But I'm so fed up and frustrated, and it's systemic and it's infecting everything. Republicans have been trying to disenfranchise people's voting rights. Yep. They're doing everything they can to make sure that, poor people and minorities aren't able to vote as easily as everybody else. In poor districts, they restrict the number of voting machines, the number of polling locations. They pass voter ID laws that say that you have to have a photo ID issued by the state. Your signature has to match. You have to have an actual physical address where you can have things mailed to you. All of these things are put in place to disenfranchise the most vulnerable among us, the people that the Republicans don't give a fuck about, because they're not going to be able to contribute to the campaigns. They're not going to be able to keep them in power. And in fact, if they had the vote, would more easily be able to remove these corrupt fucking shitheads from the power that they currently have.
Yes.
Which is why you all need to vote and not vote Republican. Please, unless you're just insane or want to see the world burn. And if that's all you want, then just go burn yourself somewhere quietly by yourself. Don't involve and harm other people.
But that's not watching the world burn, Dan. That's just watching me burn.
You could get like a really close up view of burning, and maybe it would just look like the world's burning as you smolder and pass away
through the flames.
Yeah. That would be good for everybody, I think.
This is Danielle Moscato, civil rights activist, trans woman extraordinaire, and public speaker. You are listening to Godless Revolution, and I hope you enjoy the show.
What are we talking about here? You want us to launch a cryptocurrency?
I do. The fact that people are willing to pay many multiples more for our compute credits than they're worth, we have an opportunity here. Worth is relative, Richard.
What do you mean?
Why do people covet the silly pieces of green cotton paper in their wallets? It's because we are all sheep, and we've mutually agreed to endow certain things with value. And right now, for some reason, the market values our credits more than we did.
Guilfoyle, we're not going to suddenly pivot and become a digital currency company.
I'm not proposing a pivot. I'm proposing that we sell digital currency as a way to finance our new internet company. You wanted an alternative to Lori Bream? Well, it's right here in front of you. Pied Piper Coin.
Okay, look, I'm not going to bet the entire future of my new internet and everything I've worked for on becoming the next Bitcoin. You really expect me to do that?
There are very few things that I will defend with true passion. Medical marijuana, the biblical Satan as a metaphor for rebellion against tyranny, and motherfucking goddamn cryptocurrency. I have a PowerPoint that I've been wanting to show you for some time.
Rejoining the Godless Revolution podcast now.
Okay, Matt.
Okay, Dan.
What did you bring for us this week?
I wasn't expecting that coming out of the break. This comes from the Religious News Service.
Are you reading from an electronic device?
No, shut up.
What is going on over here?
Yeah, I thought it made sense for this week.
Wow.
This is from Simranjit Singh. He's a professor.
A professor of what?
I don't know.
He just professes things.
Yeah, he's likes to profess things.
Well, good for him.
Yeah. So this is just an article he wrote for RNS. Last month.
I'm sorry. What's RNS? Is that the religious
news service?
Okay.
Which I said before I.
That's right.
So stupidly commented that he was a professor. Last month, after a gunman entered a Pittsburgh synagogue, yelled anti-Semitic hate speech, and opened fire on the congregation, killing 11 people, many responded with a message that was both defiant and hopeful. This is not the America I know. While I understand the intention behind such cliches, I also think it's time for us to move beyond that and face reality. The massacre in Pittsburgh is unfortunately precisely the America we all know. Today, the FBI released its 2017 annual report on hate crimes in America, and the data is simultaneously astounding and unsurprising. Hate crimes are up for the third year in a row, with 7,175 reported last year, representing a 16.7% rise from the previous year, the second highest increase since the FBI started tracking hate crimes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I read another article that gave a percentage on all of the increases in different types of crime, basically around hate, like anti-Semitic crime, racially based crime. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see that it's risen the most over the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Which is basically the campaign season and then the last 2 years of Trump's presidency. Yeah.
Yep. The total number of incidents on the basis of religious identity rose by 23% in 2017. Anti-Jewish incidents surged by 37%, and anti-Muslim hate crimes are still far above historical averages. The official count of anti-Sikh hate crime offenses increased 243%, from 7 in 2016 to 24. That doesn't make sense. In 2017. No, that's what it says. The official... Wait, no, that is right. Yeah, that's right. The official statistics come as no surprise. What?
Are you having math issues now, too, since you're sitting in Ryan's seat?
Yes. It's a percentage, goddammit. How can I be expected to know a percentage from this seat?
I see. I should have known better.
You come sit over here and try percentages. It's actually damn hard.
It's the lighting, isn't it?
Also, while we're talking about math and this seat, the fucking percentage that he's got his seat elevated for being the tallest of us three makes no sense to me.
Is it low?
Why is the seat so high?
Oh, is it high?
Yeah, I'm like taller than you, and I'm not taller than you. Like Ryan's the tallest one, and his seat's jacked all the way up.
There's a guy that I work with who's like, I don't know, 6'5", 6'6", and he puts his seat so fucking low. Like I would think.
Oh yeah, I guess that does make sense.
Yeah, like
the long legs. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you would think the taller you are, the higher your seat should go. But this guy that I work with puts his seat so like he puts every chair all the way down and then leans it way back. And it's like I don't know how he sits in it or gets out of it once he's done, because it's so low. Anyway,
because it's so low. The official statistics come as no surprise to those who experience such marginalization personally, or who work on these issues professionally. They reflect a climate of growing hate that is emboldened and indeed enacted by those at the top. To say it a bit more directly, this is Trump's America.
Mm-hmm.
It seems silly to remark that these statistics indicate a concerning regression on racial and religious understanding in our society. Though, given where we are right now, it somehow feels prudent to make that statement and keep repeating it. What's even more concerning is the point that civil rights organizations across the country have been making. The hate crime data collected by the FBI only represents the tip of the iceberg. A number of problems with the collection of relevant data leads to vast underreporting.
Yeah, well, this doesn't take into account all of the daily interactions that people have with each other, right? Just all of the wild fucking YouTube shit that we see where some dipshit at a fucking Walmart starts screaming at somebody because they're speaking Spanish, or, you know, things of that nature that aren't actually reported as a crime, but are still happening in increased numbers nonetheless.
Yeah, and all of the comments underneath this article, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
For instance, hate crime laws vary from state to state. Without a standard definition for what constitutes a hate crime and how authorities deal with them when they occur, collecting statistics is like trying to put together a puzzle with pieces from different puzzle sets. The pieces don't fit together neatly, and even when we force them together, the final result doesn't represent an accurate picture. This is why we need to standardize the laws across states to bring coherence and accuracy. Moreover, there are still 5 states that do not have hate crime statutes: Arkansas, Georgia, Indiana, South Carolina, and Wyoming. I found this news shocking when I first learned of it, in part because of the source who brought this to my attention. In 1998, homophobes in Wyoming beat, tortured, and murdered a young gay man named Matthew Shepard in one of the most prominent anti-gay hate crimes in American history. However, because Wyoming did not have a hate crime statute in place at the time, the murder was not classified as anti-gay hate crime. When I heard Judy Jesus.
Judy Jesus.
When I heard Judy Shepard, Matthew's mother, speak in New York City earlier this year about the problem of hate violence in America, she was asked by someone in the audience what people could do. Okay. Didn't look right. She was asked by someone in the audience what people could do. She made one simple ask: help us ensure that every state finally passes a hate crime statute. It had been 20 years since the murder of her son, and for those 20 years, Matthew's parents had toured the country imploring the country to pass this legislation. It's time we made that happen. This matters because we only have an illusion of accurately understanding the problem of hate in America. We need better numbers to better understand hate. And for better statistics, we need better reporting methods and legislation. Another problem that leads to underreporting is that many of those who are the most vulnerable to hate crimes don't know how or don't feel comfortable reporting them to authorities. Some don't speak English. Some decline to report because of their immigration status, fearing deportation.
Mm-hmm.
Others mistrust the police based on previous experiences at home or abroad. This mistrust is understandable, of course, when we recognize that those most often targeted by hate are also the most vulnerable to police mistreatment. The FBI statistics are also flawed because no state requires local law enforcement to report hate crimes to the FBI when they document them. This means that the data represented in the official FBI statistics does not account for all the hate crimes reported throughout the country. In the just-released report, only 12.6% of police agencies participating in the FBI hate crime statistics program actually reported data. 12.6%.
Wow.
This means that numbers from nearly 90% of law enforcement agencies are not included. What's not included in this report, in other words, is more damning than what is. And not only the missing statistics themselves, the underreporting of hate crime arises from all of us not wanting to know, not wanting to hear from those who suffer the most. This may not be the America we want to know, but to get the America we want or think we've lost, the first step is to acknowledge what we've become.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is it something that we've become or something that is just becoming more obvious to us?
Maybe. But I mean, even by those numbers, there have been increases in hate crimes, at least over the last 3 years, for sure.
Well, and that's the thing that has me really bummed out about the whole deal, right? Is just the knowledge that this has always been around here. And it's my privilege as a large white guy that I don't usually get hassled, right?
Right.
I speak our native language fairly well most of the time. I'm not brown. I'm not black. I'm not a woman. I'm the only minority group that I belong to, really, well, of any consequence anyway. I mean, sure, I'm colorblind and a redhead, and those those things are usually, picked on by a bunch of people. But the only other minority that I belong to really is that of being a non-believer here in the United States. And sure, we've traditionally been shit on, but it's something that isn't really readily apparent to most people, right? Like you don't have the word atheist tattooed on your forehead. Most people don't. I'm sure there are a few exceptions out there in the wild, but it's something that we don't have to acknowledge and that other people won't be aware of unless we let them know. But there's no way to hide being a brown person or being a black person or necessarily being a woman. It's these immutable characteristics that people can easily identify and then pick on people for and dehumanize them. And it's really disconcerting that this has apparently always existed and people are just now feeling more emboldened to be like, oh yeah, fuck, I can speak my mind about how much I hate these other people that aren't like me.
Yeah. The second that straight white Christian men get the permission to, they do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's always just been lurking there just below the surface. And now they feel emboldened and feel like, yeah, like you said, that they have permission in order to do and say these things.
Which is why they've been so anti-PC all these years. Which is why when Trump came along, oh, he's a straight shooter. He speaks, they had never had anything to do with being, you know, we were always like, what do they have? What do they find in common? When they, you know, we'd always see them. Oh, he's just like us, you know, well, like your billionaire next door, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't it. That was never it. It was that he's a racist fucking asshole. And that was going to give
an unapologetic racist asshole.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Which is what got him the respect of them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that. It's that he's unapologetic about being a giant fucking douchebag about all this and takes the PC/SJW people to task over it, as if being a kinder, nicer person is somehow something to be mocked and something to not, and something to be denigrated in the first place. Like, I don't understand why people use the term SJW as a pejorative, as if that's something that we should be ashamed of or mocked for being more accepting of those who don't fit our tribe, right? And then to say that the SJWs are being tribal, it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. You can't say that somebody is being PC and an SJW and it's because of tribalism. Because in order to do that, you're pointing out that, see, they're trying to identify people who are outside their tribe, and that's a tribe itself. That just doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I've had way too many fucking people recently that I've gotten into arguments with online that and I'm sure it's because of Trump and all of his bullshit. Oh yeah, you fucking SJW type PC assholes. Everybody's fucking sick and tired of that. No, it's not everybody. It's the people that have always been assholes and are now feeling more emboldened to be an even bigger asshole and to be more public about it and louder about it.
Yeah, decent people have always been around.
Yeah.
Although that might be another minority you belong to. But
a decent person?
Yeah. But I just think that at least for the last few presidencies, even into Reagan, what I can remember of it, even assholes were pretending to be decent. They were at least, you know, faking it in public to get by and stuff. And that's how it, you know, being that was what was expected. But Trump comes along.
Acceptable.
Trump comes along and just says, "Why are we doing this? Why are we, you know, all the stress of acting all the time?" He's just taken all that off. He's like, "No, fuck, just go out there and be shitty, just like you are."
Yeah. Just be your normal shitty human being self. Don't try to take into account the struggles that other people have to deal with, the disadvantages that they have in their lives just because of where they were born or who they were born to or the color skin they were born with or the sexual preferences that they have, the sexual identities that they have. None of that should matter because they're different from you. And if they're different from you, then you should be able to point at it and mock them as being less human than you are. And it's just so disconcerting and bothering to me on a deeply personal level that I had, I guess, these rose tinted glasses on for so long that I thought, oh no, the world is getting better.
That's a colorblind thing.
Yeah. That I've thought, no, we're making some real progress. This is, you know, things are getting better incrementally, not nearly as fast as I would like them to happen. But yes, the world is getting better. And then along came Trump and the world has just kind of gone to shit under his administration because assholes feel like they can just be assholes again. It's not making America great again. It's making assholes great again. That's the new MAGA.
Well, yeah, I guess. But it's making them worse too.
Making them worse to everybody else, but not in their own eyes. I mean, for them, it's just, well, now I can be free to be the asshole I've always been.
Well, I think for them too, though, because I mean, I think even if that's your natural state, trying to pretend to be better at least, even if it's just social pressure, isn't going to be alienating people that are around you. It's not going to be, I mean, these are angry people, right? Constantly. Mm-hmm. So at least in that sense, while they're at least faking it, there's normal conversations being had.
There's less drama in their lives.
Yeah. There's a lot less confrontation and they could at least feel like they're getting along, even though they have these internal struggles where now everything sucks. Mm-hmm. Everything's the worst. You just immediately start yelling and swearing at other people that don't, agree with you right off the bat. Mm-hmm. That's got to be miserable for everybody. Trump is not a happy person.
Oh no. Yeah.
And I can't imagine that people who live like that are either.
You would think, yeah, I don't know. That's a really tough one, because you would think that if the actions you're performing and the things that you're saying are making you unhappy, that you would just choose to stop doing that. And I say that knowing that may sound like a little bit of a contradiction, me who doesn't believe that you have free will to choose these types of things, but you do have the power to take input from other people and consider that, and it can alter your path going forward, right? It's not going to change everything that led up to who you are at that moment, but you can still receive that information and it can change you. And we see that people have changed over time. I was a shitty fucking person when I was younger. When I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I was a little bit racist. I was definitely very sexist. I was ageist. There were all kinds of things that I was a fucking asshole about. And it's because, I was just a bro guy. I was a sporty kind of dickhead about a bunch of different things. And over time I've learned a lot more and had an open mind and had my mind changed and affected by the people around me. And I just can't imagine wanting to hang out with people that are always assholes. Taylor had mentioned that one of the things that people need is a community. But why would you want
to? That's debatable.
But why would you want to be in a community of assholes? Unless you're an asshole yourself. And then how do you get out of that particular frame of mind of, I don't give a fuck about anybody else.
You're in an atheist group, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why I just say that, because Christians would say the same thing about that, right? Why would you want to surround yourself with such negativity?
Yeah, but I think the difference there is that most of the atheists I know are working toward a more equitable future in life for everybody, not just themselves. Where it seems like a lot of the people who follow Trump and are in that tribe or that frame of mind are really only in it for themselves, right? And that they don't really have any concern about anybody else but themselves. Ultimately, it seems like a much more selfish, self-centered way of thinking and viewing the world around.
Oh, absolutely. I'm actually glad that you took me seriously and said that, because I think that's a big point. I was just joking about the atheist group because
well, yeah,
I happen to like them.
Yeah.
But as far as groups go, but yeah, Trump is definitely a narcissist, and he's the leader of the narcissists, the people who can't see outside of their own little tiny box. Mm-hmm. And that's why they all snap, like thin-skinned. If you're not exactly like me, then you could just fuck off. You were talking earlier about how you can't imagine being around or no, that there's not even any thought given to, or if, somebody has different skin color or any of those different attributes. It's not even about giving they're not even, as far as I can tell, they don't even think those thoughts. That not even a consideration that they should value those things or could. Mm-hmm. It's just me, 100%, and other races are out for themselves. So we got to get ours or they'll take it.
Well, and I think there's a lot of projection that goes on there too. Like
of course.
You know, the way that they handle themselves in interactions and the way that they've treated other people throughout their entire lives, they feel that when those other people that they've put down and marginalized for centuries, if those people were ever to come into power, well then, yeah, it would be that they're going to wipe out the white people. That's not how the world works or how it should work. And especially for those people who have been marginalized their entire lives, they know that that's a bad thing. They don't want that to happen to other people. They're working toward, like I said, a more equitable place for everybody. They want to ensure that everybody has the same opportunity to advance their lives and to be happy and prosperous and surround themselves with loving friends and support systems and community and make the place better for everybody instead of just themselves. And I know that there are certain elements on the extremes of both the left, on the right and the left, that take things way too far. Sure, you can say that, you know, for certain circumstances, PC culture and SJW activism and culture, you know, oversteps its bounds. And I think that the people in those groups can also recognize that and say, no, you know, it's kind of, you know, what you're complaining about right now is a little bit ridiculous. Like you're reading way too much into this. You're overreacting. You're being reactionary. And really there's no issue here. You need to lighten up a little bit. No harm was intended or meant. There was no ill intent. There was no no malice behind the action that this person was taking. Maybe they misspoke, or you're just reading too much into this. You're taking it way too personally. It's not something that you should get so upset about. And I think definitely that it can be taken way too far on the left. But the instances I see of that versus what I see on the right, there's no fucking comparison. There's no, like, both in the amount and the, not intensity, basically just the amount and I guess maybe the intensity. That's not the right word, but they're not equal things. And in particular, when you view it through the lens of who's trying to improve the lives of everybody involved, and it's certainly not those on the far right versus those on the far left.
Right. Yeah. The people on the right are concerned with them. That's what we were just saying. They're concerned with themselves. Mm-hmm. And making their own lives better. Even though I still don't know what right-wing policy would do that for them. Unless they're billionaires. In that case, you could benefit pretty greatly by right-wing policies in this country for sure.
Yeah.
But you'd be an asshole.
Yeah.
You still would be an asshole to vote for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
because you could afford to live under a Democratic president better than everybody else around you still.
Well, and how much is enough? You know, how much money, how many possessions, how much land, homes, cars?
I think it's never enough.
Is it never enough for some people?
I think it's never enough.
Like
I mean, it goes all the way back to the pharaohs and everything, right? Like there's never been enough for humans.
Do you think that's, I wonder where that comes from, unless it's just being narcissistic and sociopathic. You know, well, I guess I just answered my own question. I mean, normal, ordinary, you know, people who are well-adjusted don't do that, don't require those things. They're not always trying to one-up somebody else. They're not always trying to be the richest or have the most things or have the most, you know, the most whatever. They're content with what they have. And they can look back at their lives prior to where they are now and see how much improvement there is and be content and happy where they are, you know, still trying to improve in different areas and of course always be better, but helping other people along at the same time. It's that level of compassion and empathy that I just don't see coming from many people on the right.
Yeah. Which I think comes a lot yeah. I don't know. I don't know why unless poor people on the right are are staying conservative because for other reasons, which is probably true.
I think there's
they're not voting. Yeah. It's the racism and the fear of change and all of that stuff that appeals to them.
I think it's racism. It's fear of change. I think a lot of it is a lack of education. A lot of it is just pure fucking stupidity. Like they don't know any better. They don't know that there's a better way. And they're so fucking gullible. And I think a lot of this stems from, religion's influence on a lot of people, that they just believe what people in power are telling them.
It's religion connected to the right. That's another reason why they vote for it.
Yeah.
Because it's the party of Jesus.
Well, but I think one of the biggest things is that they've been taught their entire lives that the people in power are the ones who are looking out for them and are protecting them. They've bought this narrative that, of course nobody in power would ever, or very, very rarely, use that power for their own personal gain. They're there to protect you. You need to have this authority figure above you. And that's something that they're indoctrinated with and trained through their entire lives to believe, that somebody higher up, somebody better than them, somebody more wealthy, somebody who's traveled more, somebody who's more educated is there to lead them through the dark times and be their protector. And they see somebody like Donald Trump and say, oh yeah, well, he's just a regular guy. No, he's not a fucking regular guy. He's never had a regular fucking job in his entire miserable life. He was born with a silver spoon and has had one permanently implanted in his ass. There's nothing about this guy that equates to any of the normal circumstances that most Americans, most people around the world find themselves in all the time. Mm-hmm. He has never had to struggle in his entire life for anything other than getting more money from his fucking dad. He's never gone without. He's never been a poor person. He's never worried about where his next meal was going to come from. He's never had to worry about where he was going to find shelter. He's never had to worry about any of those basic human needs.
Not only is he never, it's not even not having to worry about where your next meal. He's never had to have a meal he didn't want to have. He's only ever had all the meals he's ever, you know what I mean? Like, well, every meal is, where do I want to go to eat? Or what do I want to have right now? Or what is,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a concern.
It's not even whether he's going to have a meal or not. Yeah. It's which best thing do I want for this meal?
Yeah. Oh, my life is so hard. It's so hard to make these decisions. Yeah. It's, like I say, though, it bothers me that this has always been lurking below the surface and now is rearing its ugly head.
Again, still.
Yeah, again, still. And it's just that disappointment of thinking things had gotten so much better and seeing that it was just a thin veneer over the piles and mountains of shit that are still out there that are dwindling and decaying and going away for sure, but nowhere nearly as quickly as I think everybody who is compassionate and empathetic had thought they would.
And the funny thing is, the whole irony of all this is that those are the people that are most likely to say that we don't need PC culture and SJWs and civil rights even, because everything's equal for everybody or whatever, right? That there's no difference in race or whatever in this country, that there isn't. And yet they're the people that are proving the point. They're the people that prove that there are racial divides, that there always have been, that Black people have been right all along, that this never went away.
Yeah.
And they're the proof of that.
Yeah.
Saying that, no, it's been gone for years, right? We have had Civil War. The Civil War was so long ago, forget about it or whatever. All that bullshit that they
Slavery
use.
ended when?
Yeah.
It was so long ago.
Yeah. All that bullshit that they say. They're the proof that it's continuing.
Yeah.
It's a strange irony.
This is Dr. Dan, Matt's boss from the Two Skeptical Chaps podcast, and you are listening to the Godless Revolution. Oh shit, did I say I mean revolution. Bloody Americans fucking up the language. You can edit that, right, Spike?
I have a moral challenge on this point. Answer me this if you think that morality comes from the supernatural, and we require celestial dictatorship permission for it. Name me a moral action committed by a believer or a moral statement or ethical statement uttered by one that could not be made or uttered by an unbeliever. I've asked this in a number of venues and forums now. I'm going to keep on asking it. I have not yet had an answer. If I was to ask anyone in this room, however, could they name a wicked action performed or a vile statement made by someone attributable only to their religious faith, there isn't a single person here who would have to hesitate for a second in discovering what that was and saying it.
Thank you to everybody who has rated the show on iTunes and Stitcher and are following us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And to all our Patreon patrons, you make the show possible.
While we're on the topic of racism, Dr. Daryl Ray has been a guest on the show previously. He's a fantastic guy, sex positive
Far too long
therapist.
ago.
Yeah, we should get him on the show again to talk about some more things. But this story came to my attention from a post on his Facebook timeline. And the story is posted out on the Pathos blogs from Michael Stone. It's titled, White Kansas GOP Official Tells Black Woman He's, quote, part of the master race. It was dated yesterday, November 15th. Racist Republican. Kansas County Commissioner Lewis Klemp is under fire after telling a black woman that he is, quote, part of the master race.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say, if you're thinking about electing a white man named Lewis Klemp, don't do it. He's definitely racist.
During a routine public planning meeting earlier this week, Leavenworth County Commissioner Kemp addressed an African-American woman, Travis Pendleton, a city planner with the Kansas City consulting company Vario, who was making a presentation to the commission. Addressing Pendleton, Commissioner Kemp said, quote, I don't want you to think I'm picking on you because we're part of the master race. You have a gap in your teeth. We're part of the master race. Don't you forget that.
What the fuck? That's incoherent racism.
Well, yeah.
I guess it's coherent, but it's. I don't understand what the gap in her teeth has to do with anything.
Well, all black people have gaps in their teeth.
And no white people.
No white people do, yeah.
Right.
That's how that
David
works,
Letterman.
apparently. Yeah. The guy who could floss with a knotted sock.
Yeah. Who's famous for that. Flossing with knotted socks.
According to reports, Klemp was not happy with Pendleton's presentation when he made the offensive and openly racist remarks. When asked about his racist remark by a reporter for KSHB-TV, Klemp suggested that his remarks concerning the master race were only a joke, because that's something that you should joke about in a city council meeting.
Right. To a black person.
However, nobody was laughing. Responding to the outrage over Klemp's deplorable remarks, fellow Commissioner Robert Holland said Klemp should resign. I was shocked. I was in disbelief. He should resign. I don't care if he's got 2 days left. He should resign.
Oh. He only has 2 days left?
Well, I'm sure it may not be long. And apparently this guy wasn't even elected. He was appointed by other Republican officials. Holland said Klemp's racist remarks had nothing to do with the agenda, noting, what's this master race? None of us are master race. We're all American and we're all human beings. Holland added that he was ashamed of Klemp's behavior and how it reflected on his county. I'm ashamed of one of our commissioners and what he has done. We shouldn't be labeled as Leavenworth County, the racist county. That's the way I feel we're being labeled. In addition, a second county commissioner is now calling for Klemp's resignation. Earlier today, County Commissioner Doug Smith said, in the best interest of the county, he should resign. This is not the first time Commissioner Klemp has made racist remarks. Last year, Klemp praised Confederate General Robert E. Lee as, quote, a wonderful part of history, end quote, at a routine county meeting about holidays. According to reports, Klemp was not elected to his role as commissioner, but appointed by the Republican committee after another member resigned due to ill health. The bottom line, Leavenworth County Commissioner Lewis Kemp, a white Republican, told an African-American woman that he was part of the master race. And like I said, Dr. Daryl Ray had posted this out on his Facebook timeline and has since sent a letter to the county commission that I'm trying to find here. He posted this 11 hours ago and said, I sent this letter to the chairman of the Leavenworth County Republican Party, Mr. Rhett Rogers. Rogers? Chairman, Leavenworth County Republican Party. Dear Mr. Rogers, this is Dr. Darrell Ray, lifelong Kansan and resident of Leavenworth County since 1978. You or people within your immediate sphere of influence decided to put Louis Klemp in the position of Leavenworth County Commissioner. Mr. Klemp is widely known to have rabidly racist and white supremacist views, which he displayed publicly this week. He has also displayed his racism on other occasions in the past. The fact that you and or your colleagues thought it wise to put him in a position of authority to make decisions that affect all Leavenworth County residents is frankly puzzling. I am sure neither you nor members identify yourselves as white supremacists publicly, but your willingness to put a white supremacist in office seems to indicate that people making key decisions in the county party are, in fact, white supremacists or have strong sympathies in that direction. If none of the party officials have white supremacist beliefs, how did such a man ever gain your approval and appointment? Here are 4 questions I would like to ask you as Republican Party chairman. Number 1, will we see a strongly worded condemnation of Mr. Klemp from the party, not just government officials? Number 2, are white supremacists welcome in your party? Number 3, what is the process by which Mr. Klemp was allowed to gain this position? Number 4, what concrete steps are you taking to ensure that white supremacists do not have leadership roles in the Leavenworth County Republican Party? I will look forward to your answer to these questions. I will post this letter on my social media and in fairness will definitely give equal exposure to your reply on the same media. Thank you for your time, Dr. Darrell Ray. I thought that was a very nice letter. Those are the kinds of letters that you should send to your elected representatives and officials. Don't send them letters that say, fuck you, you fucking idiot, fucking hate you, you stupid motherfucker. Send them things with actionable items that they can take forward and reply to you and let you know whether they are going to do anything to actually address the issue. Don't just tell them you think they're dumb or that they're stupid shitheads who should die in a tire fire. Keep your letter to them rational, reasonable, and give them a plan of action or ask them questions about what their plan of action is going to be to fix the situation. I think that was a fantastic letter, so I look forward to seeing any response from that guy if he happens to send it.
Can you tell him to die in a wire fire?
And
what about a mire fire?
And Darrell later commented and said, update, I sent this as an open letter to the Leavenworth Times. The editor just called to confirm authorship. Looks like they may publicize the letter, or publish the letter, I'm guessing, in the paper, which is awesome. That's fantastic fucking activism right there, people. That is what we should all be doing.
Yes.
And additionally, still on the subject of race, did you hear about the security guard who was shot? It was a good guy with a gun stopping a bad guy with a gun, but the good guy with a gun happened to be black and then got shot by a white guy with a gun who was also supposed to be a good guy. So, it might be confusing.
A black guy with a gun is always a bad guy if the cops are coming in with no context, right?
To most police officers' eyes, I would say yes. That seems to be the case.
So it's not a clear-cut example of good guy with a gun.
Well, as far as the policeman who responded on scene, sure. Yeah, but
right.
Yeah. Other people who may not have supremely racist tendencies as members of the master race may not have, acted in the same fashion.
I'm guessing this is going to go the way that they all do, which is administrative leave, paid administrative leave, investigation. Yeah, what happened? Well, he was guilty of possessing a firearm while black.
Yeah. This comes to us from CMM. From CNN, it says, hero security guard killed by police was working extra shifts for his son's Christmas. Jemel Roberson couldn't wait for his son's first Christmas. With a 9-month-old boy and another baby on the way, the 26-year-old security guard was working extra shifts to buy gifts for his son and his child's mother, family attorney Lee Merritt said. During one of his shifts last weekend, a gunman started shooting up Manny's Blue Room, a bar in suburban Chicago. Oh, that's where, of course, that's where it happened with Chicago. That's where all the gangs are.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's a murderer in Chicago. It's just terrible. It's awful. Witnesses said Roberson bravely stopped the shooter and pinned him to the ground. But shortly later, a Midlothian police officer shot and killed the security guard, leaving the mother of their child in shambles. Quote, a family member called me and told me. I just broke down crying in the bathroom. For a long time, I was in the bathroom, said Avante Booz, who's pregnant with the couple's second child. Their 9-month-old son, Tristan, is too young to understand what happened, but he knows his father is missing. He's just been calling for his dad, Booz said Thursday. Many community members are demanding answers as to why Roberson was killed. Well, it's right there in his name. He's a robber, son.
Fuck.
One man.
I passed a couple of jokes because of the story, but Jesus, man.
One major point of contention is whether Roberson was wearing anything with security written on it. While witnesses said the guard was wearing clothes that clearly identified him as security, Illinois State Police, the agency now leading the investigation, said Roberson was wearing plain black clothing with no markings readily identifying him as a security guard. Witness Adam Harris told CNN affiliate WGN that Roberson, quote, had somebody on the ground with his knee in his back, with his gun in his back like, don't move. Merritt lauded Roberson as the quintessential good guy with a gun for stopping an active shooter, but he still had to face the reality of being a black man in America, Merritt said. Illinois State Police described the events differently. Quote, according to witness statements, the Midlothian officer gave the armed subject multiple verbal commands to drop the gun and get on the ground before ultimately discharging his weapon and striking the security guard, Illinois State Police said in a statement. Midlothian Police Chief Daniel Delaney described the shooting as, quote, the equivalent of a blue-on-blue friendly fire incident. The Roberson family's attorney disagreed. Quote, if this was a case where they saw this as friendly fire, as if a police officer was shot, then this would be handled much differently, Merritt said.
Mm-hmm.
There would be more transparency. Specifically, Merritt said authorities should identify the officer. Quote, it's important to put that name and face out in the public spectrum because it allows the community to report if this officer has a history of brutality, he said. That information certainly becomes relevant for any future criminal proceedings. Midlothian Police Chief Daniel Delaney, who has not identified the officer, but said he is a white male who has worked with the department for about 4 years. And I read another story that said he's been an officer now for 7 years, 3 with a prior department and 4 with this particular department. Per standard policy, the officer is on paid administrative leave pending the outcome of the state police investigation. Quote, what we have also learned is Jemel Roberson was a very brave man who was doing his best to end an active shooter situation at Manny's Blue Room, Delaney said in a statement Wednesday. Quote, the Midlothian Police Department is completely saddened by this tragic incident, and we give our heartfelt condolences to Jemel, his mother, his entire family, and his friends. There are no words that can be expressed as to the sorrow his family is dealing with. Booz, now grappling with the reality of raising 2 children without their father, is already thinking about what she will tell her children about their dad. He was a good father. He was a hero, Booz said. I'm going to tell them when they get older, when they get real older, what happened to their father, that he was a hero and he saved a lot of people. I just can't. And where is the outrage from people on the right about this? You know, they get pissed off at Colin Kaepernick and players in the NFL for taking a knee because of incidents like this, saying that there's no need, they're disrespecting our first responders, they're disrespecting our troops, they're disrespecting our country. Where are they when shit like this happens?
Yeah. I don't even think they understand that it's about this kind of thing. You know, I honestly don't think that. I think they just see a millionaire taking a knee during the flag and
that's it. They have no context.
Yeah, because Fox isn't reporting everything. Fox is feeding them the information that Kaepernick is disrespectful to the troops.
Yeah.
But not that I want to be fair to Republicans, but I mean, but this is a good guy with a gun scenario.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this one, if the cops came into this situation the way they said they did, with an armed guy on the, kneeling on the back of another person, then
pointing a gun at them.
Yeah, then they wouldn't actually know what was going on or who was who.
Yeah, well, and I've read 2 or 3 stories about it. So, just about everything I've read from witnesses who were there said that he did have security, clothing on that identified him as security. One article said that he had a hat on that said security on it, which, depending on the situation when you arrive, are you looking at his back from the side, from the front? Can you see the word security? Did he have a shirt on that said security? But that also that even beyond that there were multiple people in the bar who were screaming at the officer multiple times that guy's a security guard. That guy's a security guard. Don't shoot. He's a good guy. The guy that he's got is the bad guy. He's with security. He works here. Don't shoot. And that maybe the officer just had tunnel vision and saw, a person on top of another person on the ground pointing a gun at them. And I mean, until we know the results of the investigation and more information about it, it could just be the case that, the officer saw it, walked in, saw that, and figured, well, I have to stop this person before they shoot and kill this person that they have on the ground. But that's where you've got two conflicting, you've got the conflicting stories on either side. And I hate to be a pessimist Debbie Downer kind of guy about it, but I mean, historically, we've seen that the police departments just fucking lie about this kind of thing over and over and over again.
That's exactly what my point was going to be, is that in this case, you can see where it could be tricky.
Yeah.
If we hadn't seen it time and time and time and time and time and time again.
Yeah.
Day in and day out, we see this.
Yeah.
So this could be a case where I would be willing to look at the police side and go and benefit of the doubt, but I can't do that because of the history and not being transparent by departments all across the country, not even releasing his name. They're not willing to do that. They're not going to give any information about what was going on. And the other thing is it's a bad, I mean, I'm not an officer, but in my mind, there's at least a certain amount of this that is heat of the moment, badly planned by the shooting officer, right? Because even if you come in and you assume that the security guard's the bad guy, how long has this situation been going on since the call was made? You're in Chicago, right. So let's say 5-10 minutes, somewhere in there, for them to respond, and no guns have fired yet, right?
Well, it could just be that the only information they had was that there was active shooting at this bar, and so they respond. They show up and they see, they go in through the door and they see someone on top of somebody else, and they're pointing a gun at them. I don't know what the call was. That's another big problem, is that
dispatch
is dispatch, and it's not even necessarily the dispatcher's problem.
People who are calling in,
right? Yeah.
But my point though is that you come into this situation, and you can either not pull your trigger, and that the person you're looking at might pull theirs, which they haven't done for minutes up to this point.
Well, but you don't know that necessarily, right? You just arrive after hearing that there's an active shooter.
All right, fine. So this, let's just say that it just happened that he got him in that position.
Yeah.
Even though there's people yelling in the bar and everything. Or you can decide to pull the trigger and definitely make sure someone dies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, man.
I'm not saying he did the right or wrong thing. Well, he did the wrong thing, but if that was the scenario, it's tricky, but he chose to go with the guaranteed death rather than at least.
Well, and you could flip that too and say he went with the guaranteed death of who he thought was the assailant, right? Rather than not pulling his trigger and letting what he views to be the assailant possibly kill somebody while he's standing there and not acting. You know, how, like what if it was a bad guy? Like, right? What if the cop had stumbled into the bar and the person on top of this person on the ground pointing a weapon at them was in fact the bad guy, and the cop stood there and just watched the bad guy shoot somebody else, right? What kind of shitstorm would that bring down on the police? It's a tough situation, but I do think there needs to be a lot more transparency. And part of the problem is that the police have made this that much worse for themselves by having such a lack of integrity in their investigations and in the release of information about these things, and lying about them over and over and over again, and protecting bad actors, that the public now has it in their mind that of course the police are lying. Of course they are, because they've done it over and over and over again.
And my first thought when you said was that he spent 3 years at a different department was, okay, who did he kill? And they moved him to somewhere else.
That could be, yeah.
Because the American police are the Catholic priests. Where they don't get fired. They just get moved around to another department.
Yeah. They get released from one department. You know, they've got an active investigation against them. They get released. They'll go to another department, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have to wait for more information about it. But I thought it was just such a terribly tragic story. I mean, this young guy who's trying to do the right thing, who steps in, who bravely, I mean, this person had a gun out and was shooting, and he intervened and stopped them and had them on the ground while he's working extra shifts to support his family in his kid's first Christmas, and gets shot and killed because of that. It's a terrible fucking tragedy all around, you know. I just fucking maybe if we had laws that made it that much more difficult for random fuckwads to have a gun in the first fucking place, he'd still be around.
Yep. That's the number one problem in all of this, because as you were saying that, you know, you flip the argument around and what if that is the bad guy on top and all of that stuff. I think that's the exact thought process that they're going into when they enter the room.
Yeah.
Is, you know, first bad guy I see, I'm killing, because I don't want to have that hanging over me, which is a problem that they're trigger happy, which they are.
Yeah.
But it's also a problem that they have to deal with people who could just be killed right in front of them, or have themselves killed, because there's so many fucking guns and so many assholes that have them.
Yeah. If it were, you know, if it were a lot more difficult for bad guys to have guns in the first place, then maybe they wouldn't have the assumption in their head that anybody with a gun is automatically a bad guy, right?
Yeah.
If it were really, really fucking difficult for people to get guns, to where it's the case that if you have a gun, more than likely you are one of the good guys, then maybe they wouldn't be so fucking terrified of everybody who has a gun in the first place. They wouldn't walk into some place and automatically see somebody with a gun and identify them as a bad guy because they have a gun. If it's more difficult to have guns in the first place, where it's only the good guys who are supposed to have the guns and can get access to the guns, and it's a rare thing that people other than the good guys have guns, then maybe we wouldn't have good guys with guns getting shot.
No guns. Just get rid of them all, because there's no way that, I mean.
Well, but do you see what I'm saying, though?
Sort of. But I mean, there's just going to be such a huge black market, and I just see it becomes too complicated. I just get rid of them all.
Yeah, that'd be complicated too.
Yeah, it's impossible, actually.
From my cold, dead hands.
Yeah.
That guy is dead
it's
now,
never
right?
going to happen.
Isn't Heston dead now? Charlton Heston?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He's got to be.
I wonder if anybody's pried that gun from his cold, dead hands. One would hope.
I hope so.
Hey, all you dirty cis people out there who think you run the world. This is the trans podcaster, Marissa Alexa McCool, coming to say that you should go sit in the corner and listen to other people talk. And the people you should listen to are the Godless Revolution folks, because they're the good kind of cis people. We don't have to shame them just as much. So you go ahead and listen to them, and then you come listen to us so we can tell them why they need to apologize.
I just can't shake the feeling that I did something wrong. Okay? Like I'm getting away with something, like I robbed a bank. I feel like I sinned, which is weird because I don't even know if I believe in that.
Ooh, sounds to me like you are expanding your mind.
I had a conversation. I had too many drinks. I did something I never thought I'd do, and now I feel like a different person.
Oh, good.
No! That's not good! What part of that is good? I liked who I was. I want to be that guy.
You need to lose yourself to find out who you are. That's exciting.
It's not exciting to be floating on a blue marble in an infinitely expanding universe. Where's it going? What's on the other side of the expanding?
Infinite universe.
Fuck!
I know.
No!
Yes.
If you have questions, comments, concerns, compliments, corrections, criticisms, or concepts for content, contact the show via email at godlessrevolution@gmail.com, by text or voicemail at 330-81-REBEL, or Twitter the twatter at TGR Podcast. Thank you!
So you said you were ready, so now I'm saying, what else you got for us?
I thought I'd do something lighter that was topical.
Yay!
In the Freddie Mercury biopic Bohemian Rhapsody, there's a scene in which a family member scolds Mercury.
Did you say biopic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not a biopic?
No.
Okay. It just sounds like he's like Terminator or something. It's
Okay.
biopic.
Fucking cut. No, actually, you know what's funny about that? I know that the last time I saw this word, Ryan said it, and he said it wrong, and you did the same thing to him, and I'm like, fuck, which one is it? Is it biopic or is it biopic? Or I thought in my mind it seemed like it was the one that made less sense when you read it, and it looks like a biopic. So he must have said biopic.
That would be my guess.
Yeah. So I was thinking about it, and I'm like, it's anyway.
I'm sure I'll look it up later, and it'll be that you're absolutely correct that it's biopic.
Probably not.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail you.
Yeah, I'm in this chair. I'm in the derailment chair.
Okay, sorry. Please continue.
Well, this is definitely a lighter story so far. There's a scene in which a family member scolds Mercury, saying, "So now the family name is not good enough for you." I changed it legally, Mercury responds, no looking back. Might come as a surprise to some that Freddie Mercury was born Farrokh Bulsara. He came from a Parsi family that had roots in India, and he was a Zoroastrian by faith.
Really? I didn't know that.
In the world religion courses, I teach at University of Florida. This is from somebody whose name I didn't put on here.
I'm just impressed you're using an electronic device for stuff. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Are you sure you don't want the derailment chair?
Yeah.
Fleeing religious persecution from Muslims in Persia, sometime between the 7th and 10th centuries, the Zoroastrians settled in India, where they came to be called Parsis. Like Freddie Mercury, they worked to integrate into their new surroundings. Yet they also stayed true to values, beliefs, and practices of their religion, which many scholars say had an influence on Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. The Zoroastrian faith is one of the world's oldest religions, one that could date back as far as 1200 BC.
They worship Zorro, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think he was that old. I thought it was a newer story, but
Antonio Banderas?
Learn something every day. Yeah. The gay blade.
Gade. Zoroaster, a prophet who lived in modern-day Iran, is viewed as the founder of Zoroastrianism. It's so interesting how coincidences like that line up, you know?
What coincidence?
That the founder of Zoroastrianism was named Zoroaster.
That is really weird. I mean, it's like some other things.
It happens occasionally. But like Joseph Smith wasn't Joe Mormon.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it doesn't always happen, but.
Well, it's based on that guy, that guy that Joe talked to, right?
Moroni?
Yeah. No. No, Mormon. That guy, that person.
We're not sure when Zoroaster lived, though some say it was around 1200 BC. He's thought to have composed the Gathas, the hymns that make up a significant portion of the Yasna, which are the liturgical texts of the Zoroastrians. According to the Zoroastrian tradition, Ahura Mazda is the supreme lord and creator. He represents all that is good. In this aspect, the religion is one of the oldest examples of monotheism, or the belief in one God. The main tenets of the faith center on the opposition between Ahura Mazda and the forces of evil, which are embodied by Angra Mainyu, the spirit of destruction, malignancy, and chaos. This evil spirit creates a serpent named Azidahaka, a symbol of the underworld, not unlike the biblical serpents of Judeo-Christian traditions. Within the cosmic battle, we see the tension between Asha, which roughly translate to truth, righteousness, justice, or good things, and Druj, or deceit. Truth is represented by light, and Parsis will always turn to a source of light when they pray, with fire, the sun, and the moon all symbolizing this spiritual light. Scholars have noted the strong historical influence that Zoroastrianism has had on concepts seen in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Whether it's monotheism, the duality of good and evil, or Satan.
Satan?
Today, Zoroastrianism has a small but devout following, though it's been shrinking. In 2004, it was estimated that there were between 128,000 and 190,000 living in the world, with 18,000 residing in the U.S. Whoa, really? The Kisa-i San John, which translates to the story of San John, was composed around the 7th century.
You'd think they'd just say it, right?
Yeah.
Just call it the story of St. John. Jesus.
It describes how the Zoroastrians, fleeing religious persecution from Muslim invasions in their Persian homeland many centuries earlier, head to Gujarat in western India. Once they arrive, stupid fucking electronics. Once they arrive, they reach out to a local king whom they call Jadi Rana. He agrees to give them land if they adopt local dress, language, and some customs. However, there is never any question about religious faith. They still practice their religion, and Jadi Rana is elated that these newcomers worship as they please. When the Zoroastrian refugees arrived in Gujarat, the king sends them a jar of milk filled to the top, his way of saying that his kingdom is full and there's no room for any more people. In response, the newcomers stir in a spoonful of sugar and send it back to the king. In other words, not only do they promise to integrate with the local population, but they'll also enhance it with their presence. In the other version, they drop a gold ring into the bowl to show that they'll retain their identity and culture, but they'll nonetheless add immense value to the region. These are both compelling narratives, though they make slightly different points. One extols the integration of immigrants, while the other highlights the value of different cultures living together but in harmony. Parsis in India and wherever they have gone have done both. They've adopted some of the customs of the land they live in while maintaining their distinctive culture, religious rituals, and beliefs. They've also made more cultural contributions than the initial wave of refugees to Gujarat could have ever imagined. Despite their small numbers, Parsis can count a number of famous musicians, scientists, scholars, artists, and entrepreneurs among their ranks. And they name off a whole bunch, none of them I've ever heard of and can't pronounce. Freddie Mercury's family were migrants. Their first home was in India, but they moved to Zanzibar before finally settling in England. Like his ancestors, Freddie Mercury integrated into a new culture changed his name and became a Western pop icon. Yet through it all, he remained immensely proud of his heritage. I think what his Zoroastrian faith gave him, his sister Kashmira Cook explained in 2014, was to work hard, to persevere, and to follow your dreams.
That's a very, very nice story. It's a champion of the people story. It's very nice. He's just a guy seeking to integrate and entertain the masses.
Yes.
That's good.
A man who rose above his looks.
He was not an attractive person. To me, anyway. I'm sure clearly there were other people who found him attractive. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show that we received some feedback from one of our listeners. Mr. Marius Kotbutrakowski sent us a message on our Patreon page. He said, "Hey, I'm catching up after returning from exile and heard about the farting puppy, sharing it with my partner. She's a certified assisting dog trainer and suggests visiting a veterinarian because farting a lot can be a sign of some kind of health complications, potentially dangerous to this puppy's health." Thank you very much for the concern. That was very nice. We take all of our dogs to the vet all the time, for their regular vaccinations and checkups and everything. And then whenever we get a dog or a puppy or cat or anything, we take them in for an examination and to introduce them to the vet that we always go to. And I think first the farting has gone way, way, way down, and they are nowhere near as smelly as they were. I think there were a couple things going on. First was that he was in a different environment. He's been moved from one home to another. There are a couple other dogs, people he's not familiar with, scents and places and things that he's not accustomed to or familiar with. He's nervous. And then that we also changed his food when we got him. I can't remember what food they were giving him initially, but it was just like stuff you get at the grocery store. And we always try to get super good food for the dogs. I buy Natural Balance, I think it is. Natural Balance? I think it's Natural Balance. But it's a limited ingredient dog food where there's like, it's like sweet potato and venison, I think is the one we're giving them currently. But it's very highly rated and good food. Our vet said, yeah, that's a good choice. And so I think it was adjusting to a new home and the new food. And when we first got him, not to be too gross or graphic, but his stool, his poop was very not firm. It was very mushy, kind of runny. Now they're good firm poops when he goes, and the farting is cut way, way down, and he seems to be adjusting really well. He and Oliver are fucking adorable together. Like the Ziggy just follows Oliver around like his little shadow, and he always, Ziggy always follows Oliver around, watches what Oliver does, does what Oliver is doing.
Except what happens when Oliver zags.
then they are at loggerheads and collide with each other. But they get along super good or super well. Ziggy always has to be around Oliver. Like I said, he like mimics the things that Oliver does. I keep trying to get what is like the most fucking adorable picture. And it happens like every other time before we go to bed when I let them outside. And I let them out the back door, out onto the little patio out there, and they go out onto the grass. And Oliver will go ahead. Oliver's in the lead. And then Ziggy's behind him. And when Oliver stops, Ziggy stops. And then Oliver will lift his leg and start peeing. And Ziggy will lift the same leg, just like staring at Oliver and watching him and lift the same leg and pee. It's fucking adorable. Like they're in a line and you can see Ziggy just watching Oliver like, oh yeah, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. And, we have where Tracy has little beds for the dogs in her office. She watches them most of the day. She has a much larger office than I do. It was a trade-off because I could have the studio and my small office, and then she's got a very nice large office, but she watches the dogs all day, and she's got beds for them in there, and it doesn't matter which bed Oliver picks to lay in, Ziggy will wait until Oliver basically falls asleep, and then Ziggy will get up from wherever he's laying down and go and curl up like right next to Oliver, and basically 2 dogs in a bed that's already too small for Oliver, and Ziggy goes over and crowds in. It's fucking adorable. They're super cute together. So they're both getting along very well, and the puppy's very healthy, but thank you very much for your concern and the suggestion. That was very nice of you. That will wrap it up for us this evening for the regular portion of the show.
Regular.
The regular portion. Before we go, I want to make sure that we thank our Patreon supporters, as we always do about this time. And that would be... I just closed the goddamn window. Our Patreon patrons are Alan Firth,
Pneumania,
Christy Kalbach,
Gatheus,
Larry Wilson.
Hey, you're going to get it right every time.
That's
because
right.
You just have to go after me.
I won't be stumping on you.
Stephen Andrews.
Let them eat kofefe.
2 skeptical chips.
Michelle Short.
Vanessa.
Freethinker 215.
Captain Samples.
A new Patreon supporter. Thank you very much. Utah Outcasts.
Janet Uter.
Marius Kot Butrakowski.
Wes Aaron.
Andrew Vodopich.
Taylor Grin.
Angelica Pearson. Did I say that right? I'm sorry. Angelica Pearson.
Jeremy Goodson.
Brandy Hamrick.
Megan Kennedy.
The Foz.
Jeff Peterson.
Jesse Pointer.
Savita Kuna.
And the Purple Dragon.
And the Purple Dragon.
And the Purple Dragon. Thank you all very much for your support of the show.
Yes,
if you would like to become a Patreon supporter, and we would encourage you to do that. We like when we get Patreon supporters. That makes us very happy.
So long as you can afford it.
Yes. You can go and do that by going to patreon.com/godlessrevolution, where you can pledge as little as $1 per episode, where you get all kinds of fun stuff. You get extra clips of the show, extra episodes, longer episodes. You get them earlier than when the regular show was released. And you get our eternal and extreme gratitude for you doing that. You help make the show go. So we really, really appreciate it and want to encourage you to do so. You can also make suggestions for upcoming shows. I got your messages, Kevin. I'm sorry I haven't replied yet. I will be doing so soon. I've been swamped. Thank you very much for the suggestions. We should get you in the studio and talk about 1 or 2 of those things. That would be awesome. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving or Turkey Day or however you choose to celebrate the holiday known as Thanksgiving here in the United States. For those of you outside the United States, I hope you are doing well and have had a great week as well. And so until next week, if Jesus comes back, crucify him again.
Leave a review to achieve a swamp-free America. And as always, rate the show 5 times a day toward the master race.
Oh.
Well, I didn't say which race that was. I didn't.